everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have been making, decorating some wooden eggs. The first one I decorated with washi tape. It's the first time I've ever done that on a wooden egg, but I got some ideas off YouTube, because I never knew that was a thing, and I've only recently just got into washi tape, because you could do so much with washi tape. It's very versatile. So I just noticed it's a bit crumpled there. I tried to get it straight, some bits are a little bit crumpled, doesn't matter. It's quite hard, it's quite hard kind of putting it over the egg, really, but it adds to its charm. A little bit of crinkliness adds to its charm, doesn't it? But yeah, I was very pleased with it. It's my first washi egg anyway, because I haven't done one of these before. And it's just very nice sort of wrapping it up like that. It makes it look kind of festive and pretty. So I did that one with washi tape. And then the other one I decorated with some Easter stickers that I got from Hobbycraft. I really like these stickers. They're really cute and kawaii. Just love them. So I decorated it with some, yeah, it's like Easter bunny stickers, which I really like. I've got some more, and I might paint those, the other ones. Yeah, it's really fun decorating eggs. I use just wooden eggs, but I don't do the whole blowing eggs thing, which obviously you can do. I don't know, just a little bit faffy, and also like, obviously like the wooden ones, so keep longer. And yeah, and I just thought it was just easier and simpler just to use wooden eggs. You can also get plastic ones as well. So that's what I was doing. So anyway, in this video, I wanted to review the second episode of Inside Our Autistic Minds, which was aired on episode number 2, which was aired last Tuesday, although I watched it on iPlayer. So in this, I thought the second episode actually was a bit better than the first episode, in that it focused more on some of the kind of symptoms of autism as opposed to just sort of masking and stuff. So it showed, first of all, it showed a young man called Anton, who's 26 years old, and engaged to his fiancée, and he was diagnosed autistic age 4, so very young. And it said how he used to have frequent meltdowns in supermarkets. I think that was part of the reason why he got diagnosed so young, was because he displayed very, very challenging behaviour, and that's often the reason why people get diagnosed very young. Although it seems to me, though, the type of behaviour, it's not just challenging behaviour though, because I think it also depends on whether or not the parents and people around them are familiar with autism, and I guess being a boy obviously helps matters. And yeah, it said he was or is a Middlesbrough football fan and a trance DJ. And his main symptom, his major aspect of his autism, is that he's obsessive about timings and routine, planning every moment in his day down to the last second. And it said how he works hard to disguise his autistic traits in order to fit in. So he has this real need for routine and everything being done to set times, but he's very careful not to let people around him, like his football friends and people around him, know about this. He keeps it hidden. He also said he's a record collector. He collects vinyl records, which is his thing. So yeah, it showed a little bit about autistic obsessions, and he orders them via alphabetical order and artist, and if they're out of order he can't settle, he can't even watch TV because they have to be in order. So he has this real kind of like perfectionist thing going on where everything has to be in absolute order. And when he got a new job, he timed how long it took him to get out using a stopwatch, timing exactly how long it took him to get out of bed, walk, put his uniform on, brush his teeth, then walk down the stairs, and as soon as he reaches the last step, it's bang on 6:30, And he said he would take a day off work if he left the door 2 minutes over time than he should have left the door. And then he said how he would stand in the street and his chest would feel like it's closing up and tears would start rolling. So basically he would have a sort of meltdown and then he wouldn't be able to complete his day, like he wouldn't be able to go to work or anything. The same would happen if he missed his bus. He would go into complete tailspin as well. So like really fixated on routine. Obviously I can relate to that. I wouldn't say I'm like as pedantic to the clock as he is, as in like I'm not. It doesn't result in an absolute meltdown if, like, say, 1 minute is over or something. I'm not like as pedantic to the clock as he is, but nevertheless, I am very, very routine driven, and I do have everything has to be done in a certain order and in a certain sort of framework, which I obviously have to control. Bedtimes being the absolute. Bedtimes being the most, I guess, rigid of my routines, in that I have to go to bed at the same time every night. I can, if I'm in control of it, I can sometimes deviate by a minute or so, and I wouldn't go into an absolute meltdown if, like, say, I was 1 minute late to bed for something. It's not like as pedantic to the clock as what he was describing, but it is rigid in a sense that it has to be, very much within a certain time frame. So a minute over, it's not like I'm going to go in a meltdown, but like, if there was a change that someone else had imposed on me and my bedtime was completely out of sync, that would trigger a meltdown. So I do have very strict routines, so I can relate to that. Just not quite as pedantic to the clock as his, but that rigidity around routines I can certainly relate to, because that's very much a part of my life as well. And then Packham was also again talking about his routines, although he said they're not as rigid as Anton's, but he said how he's far more rigid about visual things. For example, if anything changes in his visual environment, and he gave the example of himself walking through the woods, which he walks through every day, and if a branch has blown off a tree, his environment has changed so vividly that then it's visually upsetting for him. So in order to kind of compensate for that in his own environment, he ensures that in his own space nothing moves and nothing changes. I think that, it's basic compensation, isn't it? It's like the same as I'm particularly controlling about my own space, because obviously I know, like, outside things happen that are outside of my control, and it's really stressful and hard. So then I compensate by ensuring that everything in my own space is how I want it to be. And then obviously if something happens in my space that is out of my control, that is a particular recipe for a meltdown, because it's a space where it needs to be safe. So I get particularly controlling about my own personal space. I think also because it's like my sanctuary, and obviously if that sanctuary is threatened, then like my whole world falls down. Whereas obviously when I'm outside, I expect there's going to be a certain amount of things I can't control, but I know I can come back to my sanctuary and everything will be as it should be. And obviously if that's threatened, then where am I to hide? So I think that's part of the reason why I'm particularly controlling about my personal space. So I can relate to that. And also the thing about nothing moves and nothing changes, I have a thing about that. So if I've put something in a particular place, I can't move it. Or it's really hard to move it. That's part of the reason why I haven't shown you my baby doll, my Constance Adel. I showed her to you to camera a few times, but it's so stressful for me to move her that you probably won't see her again for a while, because once something's in a particular... I managed to show you those eggs, though, so it's not... I think because I've only just done them, so they haven't like established themselves yet in their particular place. I can do it, it's just it takes a lot of effort and energy, and once something is in a space, I don't particularly like to move it. So I can do it if I really want to, but it takes a hell of a lot of energy and effort, and I'd rather not, basically, because it is quite destabilising. It's just the amount of energy involved, so once things are in a particular place, they will stay there. That perfectionism thing, definitely I can relate to that. I could give one example. I'll move over to video number 2 now because I do want to carry on reviewing the actual video, but, reviewing the thing. But I could give one example of when I was, I can't remember exactly how old I was. It was sometime during my childhood, sort of mid-childhood, so maybe about 8 or 9. But I can't remember the exact age, but I was on holiday. It was summer holidays, and it was my birthday, and I'd received some plasticine, and all the strips were perfectly aligned. You know, like when you receive plasticine and they all look absolutely aesthetically pleasing to the eye, these perfectly smooth strips. And I wanted to leave it like that. I didn't want to mess it up. I guess a bit like that visual perfection that Packham was talking to. I can actually really relate to that. I think that's a trait I obviously share with him. Yeah, I didn't want to mess up these strips of plasticine because they were absolutely perfect. But obviously the impulse to play with it overcame that, so I took a strip of the plasticine and I rolled it up. But again, now the absolute perfect symmetry of those straight, beautiful lines of plasticine was then obviously destroyed. So then I spent the rest of the day silently obsessing about it in my mind, trying to kind of restore the symmetry. It's hard for me to know exactly where that's OCD or autism, because obviously the two conditions heavily overlap for me, but I think that is probably more likely to be an autistic order thingy going on. But obviously, because I also have OCD, it then probably makes it a bit more intense. But yeah, I was spending all day, and bearing in mind I was quite young, 8 or 9, but we went on a walk, and I didn't tell anyone, because I didn't really talk about these things. I was just kind of walking behind everyone else rather slowly, because inside my head, I was going over and over and over how the plasticine was. I mean, I can remember this really vividly, so obviously it's left an imprint. I was going over and over and over in my head how messed up the plasticine now was, trying to kind of restore it back in my head. I kind of messed up my birthday. Obviously, you have to play with plasticine. That's the thing. You have to break a seal. I still have this problem with perfection even now, but I forced myself now. It's a bit like those stickers. I really didn't want to open a pack, but the other part of me wanted to open a pack. And obviously, once you've opened, and obviously, there are so many different ways you can use stickers. So I thought, I could put them on an egg, but then I could also put them in my scrapbook. Again, nothing's ever right. But I'm getting better as an adult at kind of forcing myself now to do that. Like, seeing the logic and seeing this is absurd, otherwise you just don't use things. But it is still stressful for me to kind of break something's perfection. Yeah, so I could definitely relate to that. I've just got a bit better as I've got older and trying to kind of rationalise it. Okay, so moving over to video number 2 now to carry on talking about what went on in inside autistic minds. So moving over to video number 2 now.